Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Yoni Harris, and I'm chair of the Women's Fund Research Committee. Because we often get questions about how the Women's Fund research process works, we thought it might be helpful to give you an illustration. I'll talk through a hypothetical agency's journey to obtain a grant from the Women's Fund. Now, suppose a Women's Fund member sends an email to research@womensfundsb.org to tell us about a small Santa Barbara nonprofit agency that provides support services to vulnerable low-income clients over 65. Let's call it Senior Living Assistance Agency, or SLAA. And let's pretend that they run a day program that provides social interaction, health checks, and 2 nutritious meals daily in comfortable surroundings for qualifying senior citizens. Without SLAA, many of the 40 to 50 program clients would be left alone in their home or even have to move to some sort of retirement facility. SLAA may already be in the Women's Fund database of over 150 local nonprofit agencies. If it isn't, we can add it, provided its mission and services address the needs of low-income or underserved women, children, families, or seniors. Clearly, SLAA meets that criterion. At the beginning of the grant cycle in May, Senior Living receives a heads-up postcard from the research committee that notifies them that they will soon get an email request for a project idea. The email invitation to submit a short description of a project arrives a few weeks later. SLAA returns a short form description. Here's what their project description looks like. These descriptions are usually about 300 words long and give some basic information about the project. As you can see, the agency has plans to add transportation to their services in order to take clients to and from the senior center, to and from needed appointments, and to and from community events. SLAA is asking for funding for a 14-passenger van. In early July, research committee members rank the 800 some odd submitted projects using objective measures. And then they meet to discuss the ranked list, which is eventually narrowed to 20 or more projects. The good news for SLAA is that they are among the 20 projects selected to move forward. Now, Senior Living is asked to provide certain financial documents, like their profit and loss statement, balance sheet, annual budget, recent IRS Form 990, and audit, which are all reviewed by the Finance Committee to determine that the agency is financially stable and well-positioned to follow through with their project. At the same time, Finance makes sure that SLAA has done everything needed to maintain their nonprofit status with the state and federal governments. Like most of the other agencies on the short list, SLAA makes it through this review and advances in the process. The executive director of SLAA then gets a confidential phone call from the researcher assigned to work with them. The conversation goes well. The executive director is able to explain how the van fits into the day program and how it is an important addition to the services that SLA provides its clients. Senior Living is then invited to submit a full application, which consists of 3 pages of narrative and a project budget. The application is a big piece of the grant process, but SLAA doesn't have staff with grant writing experience, so the researcher assists the agency by ensuring that the project is thought through and clearly described, and that the need for the van is well articulated and exact costs are included. After submitting the application, the ED works with the researcher to clarify any issues and answer preliminary questions, all to help the researcher prepare to present the proposal to her colleagues on the research committee. The researcher also drops by the center to meet the ED and staff in person and get a glimpse of the program in action. After presenting the proposal to the full research committee, the researcher arranges a more formal site visit with the ED and other researchers over Zoom. During this visit, the ED summarizes the proposal and the researchers ask any questions they have. The application that has been submitted by the agency, the questions and answers that have been collected, and a report generated by the researcher to provide background information and analysis become the basis for deciding which agencies should be recommended to be on the ballot. This decision is made by the research committee in December, and the recommendations are forwarded to the Women's Fund Board. Senior living is among the agencies recommended to be on the ballot. Happily for the agency, the board accepts the recommendations and SLAA becomes part of the ballot package mailed to the membership in February. SLAA's proposal is also featured as part of a virtual ballot review meeting at the beginning of March, where researchers explain the projects and answer questions from the membership. Voting takes place by the end of March. Based on the results of the voting, Senior Living Assistance Agency may indeed get their van. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope this story helped you to understand how we work. The end.